Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the Algebra 1 concept of powers, specifically how we can take the power of a power and even look at negative powers, and we'll do it in 5 minutes or less. So what do we mean when we say power of a power? Well, you might get an expression and I might say, all right, a to the m power, and then I want you to take that expression to the n power. And what exactly does that mean? Well, what we can do here is we can actually simplify this, and that means a times, and then you just multiply those two powers. So when you get a power to a power, you end up just multiplying those two powers. So let's look at it in a simple example, and then we can look at it in a little bit more of a complex example. So let's say we're going to do a little bit of substitution here. Okay, so we're going to say our base here. So this is our base, right? That's the big number here. And these two are our powers. Going to be the m and the n, whichever way we're looking at it. Okay, so let's take our base, and let's say our base is going to equal, let's say 3, right? And we can say our m, let's make that 2, and let's make our n, we'll make it also 2. Okay, we'll keep it simple. So what does that mean? Well, if I've got my base of 3, and my m is going to be 2, so that means it's going to be 3 squared. And then I want to square that as well. Okay? Well, what we could do is we can simply say, all right, I'm going to take this power 2, and I'm going to multiply it by the other power, the power of a power, and that's going to equal 3 to the 4th. Okay? So that's really what that means, is 3 to the 4th power. Well, we can open up our calculators here, and we can see, all right, well, if we plug it in, 3 to the 4th power, that's going to equal 81. We can also kind of visually see this right here as, this 3 squared. Well, we know that that's 9, and then we've got this squared on the outside, so 9 squared also equals 81. Okay, so that's a simple example. Sometimes you're going to see it a little bit more complex, and you don't necessarily need to simplify it. You might say, all right, so 41 to the 7th power, then I need you to take that to the 3rd power. This is one in which we don't necessarily need to simplify. All we would want to do would be, all right, we're going to keep our base, 41. Then I'm going to multiply, right? That's what the power of power means. I'm going to multiply 7 times 3. So that's going to be 41 to the 21 power, the 21st power. That's how we take a power of a power. Now, let's look at negative powers. So our negative powers are going to be the reciprocals. So sometimes we might see a to the negative m. And what that means is 1 times a to the m. So when we see a negative power, that means we're going to take the reciprocal, right? We're going to turn it into a fraction and put it in the denominator. So for example, we might say a to the negative 2 power. Okay, it's not necessarily negative. It's not squared. It's negative to the 2 power, to the negative 2nd power. All that means is we're going to take that, we're going to find its reciprocal, but then we're going to keep the power the same. So 1 over a squared is what that means. And when we see negative power, we use it in the reciprocal. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? What if it's 1 over a to the, let's say, negative squared power? What if the negative exponent is already in the denominator? Well, if I were to simplify this, right, that's going to be 1 over, and then 1 over a squared, which looks really weird. And what that means is we actually flip it up here. If it's already in the denominator, and it needs to be in the denominator again, it ends up just being a squared. Okay? And so if you already have one that's in the denominator and it has a negative exponent, it actually just flips it up and just makes it into the whole. And so we could simplify this, and we can practice if we want to. We can say, all right, a equals 2, right? And so we can say 1 over 2 squared, right? That's going to be 1/4. But if I say 1 over 2 to the negative squared, right, that's going to end up being 4.